What is happening, YouTube? Eric Bauer. I'm back again with another collection update, really. I had a few things I wanted to talk about, but I wanted to bust this collection update as well. Movie reviews will be forthcoming, I promise. I know not everybody was into them, but I have fun doing those, and the positive feedback I did receive means, yeah, more are on the way. In the meantime, this is kind of a public service announcement to support your local record store, especially right now. I said store. I meant store. Obviously, I meant store. Anyhow, I had a bunch of shit, mostly tapes, that were just sitting in a big fucking pile in the way, and I'm too lazy to sell on Discogs, so those went to Daybreak Records, one of my favorite, if not my favorite, local shop here in the Seattle area, run by amazing people with an amazing selection. And basically everything here is going to be stuff that was copped with the trade-in or just the same trip. Couple of trips there. Anyway, love that shop. Gotta drop their name almost every video. So yeah, this is kind of an advertisement for what cool shit you can pick up at that spot. We're gonna start with 45s. First of which is a classic. It is Counterblast with their Prospects EP. Counterblast are a very hard band to pigeonhole. As far as classification goes, crust punk, put out by Scold Records, I believe, Scold Recordings. I could be wrong on that front. Let's do a quick check. Yeah, Scold Releases. I was correct. Kleister's label, R.I.P. Kleister. One of the most important labels of my youth, of my life. I still try and collect titles that Kleister put out under that label. Did a lot of work with labels like Common Cause, Life is Abuse, and Profane Existence, among others. Almost everything he put out is quality shit. And this is no exception. It's really forward-thinking, somewhat industrial, progressive crust punk. It's fucking awesome. It's dare I say, mandatory? Maybe not mandatory, but it's really good, and I think everybody should give it a shot. The next thing I picked up, and this was an amazing find. It is an original Nuke EP from Chaos out of Finland. What to say about this EP? Came out in 1985. One of the most seminal Finnish punk bands of their time, up there with like Llama and Kohu 63, Riestetit, I don't even know if I'm saying that right, but this was put out by Fight Records, and I've had a repress on Havoc forever, which is a great repress. They had to do a little bit of fiddling with like the cover art, but it's a great repress, and yeah, I definitely recommend getting into Chaos. They had several full lengths. Their first full length is also fucking incredible. One that I cannot hesitate to recommend. Just awesome shit. Here's another Finnish band on Fight Records. It is Totuus. I don't know if that's pronounced correctly. My grasp of the Finnish language is rudimentary at best. Another great EP. This came out quite a ways after that Chaos Fight released this. I want to say the 90s at some point. I should have written this shit down. I didn't. See if I can find a date. Probably can't. Doesn't really matter. This shit is awesome. Great booklet inside. It's just fastened to the inside of the 7-inch cover, and This is something you didn't see very often at the time that it came out. Very nice splatter record. Yeah, what to say about Totuus other than if you like crusty Finnish hardcore, then this probably deserves a place on your listening itinerary. It's fucking awesome. Great, great shit. And shit, here's another Finnish 45. This is a Forza Macabra. That's quite the glare, isn't it? So let's make that a little bit easier on the eyes. Shit's just falling out all over the place. Forza Macabra with Araze de Todo Mai. Now, the Forza Macabra is pretty infamous for being a Finnish band that sings all in Portuguese. They're really, really obsessed with the movement that was happening when they first came about in Brazil. Did a lot of work with Brazilian labels, Brazilian bands, is like Beethoven and Forza Macabra, like that. This album specifically is all covers of Brazilian bands. So you've got that. I don't know, check out the track listing. Fucking covers of Lobotomia, Psychose, Cholera, and Armageddon, who are fucking incredible as well. And in fact did several splits with Forza Macabra. This shit rules. It's not mandatory because, like I said, it's all covers. But anytime I see something from this band out in the wild, I will snag it up because they have a pretty hefty discography, and it's all good. It's not really any downsides or any bad albums or releases that they put out. And this is another 45, the last of them in fact. Three-Way Come out of Sweden with Battle of Opinions. This was released by Sound Pollution. It was a label of quality. Back in the day they put out Assuck, Hell Nation. I believe Sound Pollution was actually run by one of the guys in Hell Nation. I would have known that for sure back in the day. Nowadays, you know, memory's hazy. What can I say? Fucking great stuff nonetheless. And something I definitely recommend. I did a collaboration video with Pat and Jason, which you will either be seeing prior to this or after this. Probably after. I might make that a Christmas special, where I talk a little bit about Three-Way Come. I think I was really contemplative about putting this on the list that we were doing, but I left it off because I wanted to talk about it here. Good stuff. Very crusty, D-beat, grindy, Swedish classic shit. If you see any camera wobble, the cat is playing with one of the tripod feet. George. He hasn't made an appearance recently, and he's pacing around the Yule tree currently. So I'm not going to pick him up to show the camera, but he's there doing that shit right there. Oh, you probably heard that. He's going crazy. He's crazy. Alright. Another Counterblast album. This is their full-length on Skull release as well, Balance of Pain. This is the first Counterblast material I ever heard, and I got into this at a time where I was really digging shit like Neurosis and Christ Driver. This Counterblast stuff really just fit right in with all that. You've got a really nice old ad for Skull included with a word processed typed address. Pretty sure that's not correct anymore. It's not even, no, I'm sorry, it's not an address, it's a fax number. Remember fax machines? I do. Came with a nice little poster. Kind of hard to see, but that was part of the point. This stuff's just awesome. It's very sludgy, it's very mechanical, it's very cold and bleak and dreary. And this band was part of like kind of a collective of Swedish artists that were very incestuous in that they shared a lot of members. So like, let me see if I can think of any other bands that had members of this involved. Toll Shock was one. Parasite is another one. They also, a lot of the members were involved in the Swedish death metal scene in the early days. It's good shit. Really, really, really fucking good shit. And side A of the record we were listening to just ended. I'm not going to flip it quite yet, but I will show you what we have on the turntable. This is a repress of the X with Disturbing Domestic Peace. Awesome, awesome record. I'm not going to talk much about it because I talked about it a little bit with Pat and Jason, and you'll be seeing that shortly. So the next LP, second LP, we're going to go ahead and discuss is a band that often gets left out of conversations. I'm going to talk about this probably more in depth in a future video, so I'm not going to get too into detail about it here, but Active Minds with their first LP. Fucking Welcome to the Slaughterhouse. That's a pretty gross cover. Active Minds, really, really, really big in the animal rights movement out of the UK at the time that this came out. I want to say like 88. This is a repress. It's the second edition. It's still an old pressing, probably 1990-ish, 1989, 1990. And this is just fucking great shit as well. Very, very, very politically conscious, leftist, anarcho-punk, but almost D-beatish, but they definitely fall into like that early doom school of UK crust. They probably would have fit in with some of those early Peaceville bands if Peaceville's politics didn't get all fucked up when Hammy was like, yeah, I'm going to sell out. It's great shit. And again, I'll probably talk about it more in depth in a future video that I have planned. Just know that it is something I would consider almost essential. Yeah, I'm going to say it. Pick it up. Check it out. Fucking rules. The cool thing about Active Mind stuff is there's a lot of it, and none of it is expensive. Even the old presses, as far as I can tell, are like generally go for pretty reasonable amounts of money on Discogs or the eBay. Not that I would encourage you to go the eBay route usually. Just great shit, and a band that if you're into this type of music, definitely check them out. They're worth your time for sure. Let's flip the record now, shall we? On to the B-side. This record rules. Anarcho-punk, Netherlands. It's awesome. Alright, next up. This shit is it's another classic. I have been on the lookout for a copy of this for a long time, so finding this was also awesome. It's the first LP by Hiatus, a band again that I talked about on the Pat and Jason collab, which you'll need to watch. It's gonna be epic. El Sueño de la Razón Produce Monstruous. Hiatus, however, were not a Spanish band. They were from Belgium, Liège or Liège. I'm not quite certain on the pronunciation. This album is killer, just almost D-beat. I hate just saying it's D-beat because it's such a fucking cop-out. But you can hear influences of D-beat for sure. It's just driving, often crusty hardcore from Belgium, and it rules. This album, kind of a game changer, not so much as the second album, which is the one that I go into a lot of detail about in that collab, so keep your eye out for that. And yeah, I'm re-sleeving. I always do, because you know what, I don't really have an issue with it. A lot of people struggle. Next up, another album very important to my formative years, Homo Militia. Polish hardcore. I believe the title translates to Your Body, Your Choice. And Homo Militia were a band really entrenched in the Euro scene back in the day. Shared a lot of the same sort of philosophies and morals as bands like Hiatus, as well as a lot of the Greek bands coming out and a lot of the Italian bands coming out at the same time. Homo Militia were not just an anarcho band. They were very much about spreading messages of like gender equality and coming to terms with gender identity, as well as you know, the typical political tirades at the time. They came from a place and a time that was a little bit oppressive. So the fact that this came out in the first place, pretty incredible. It's a pretty incredible record. It's another one that kind of helped, like I said, change my perception of hardcore. It rules. Changing Continents. This is an album, honestly, I never thought I would find an affordable copy of. You check Discogs for these things, they're way up. Because they're from Japan, and for whatever reason, everybody's crazy about Japanese hardcore right now. I'm talking about THC by Rocky and the Swede. And THC, of course, stands for Total Hardcore. What did you think it stood for, based on that picture? Japanese hardcore, obsessed with weed, band rules. It came on a very appropriately green LP, released by fucking Partners in Crime out of Portland. This album smokes. They actually had a new album last year, which did make my album of the year list that I talked about on the podcast. And this is one of those bands that has a lot of longevity to them, and everything they do is fucking good. There are no exceptions to that rule. I have not heard a Rocky and the Sweden project that is not stellar, honestly. Again, re-sleeving my channel. I do what I want. Next up, Annihilated out of the UK. Annihilated are probably better known for becoming a thrash band. However, this album is very firmly in that school of UK crust that the first Onslaught material belonged to. This artwork, in fact, was drawn by Stig from Deviated Instinct, if I'm not mistaken. This is a repress, but not the most recent repress, and the most, I think, loyal to the original layout of the album. That artwork just rules, and if you see this, you basically know what it's going to sound like. Early Deviated Instinct, early Onslaught, early Axe Grinder, early Hell Bastard. It's in that school of tunes. Pretty basic package, but I do like the labels. Really nice, really great shit. Super underrated. I'm not big on the thrash stuff that they put out after this record, but it's not bad. The second album looks a lot like the cover to Hell Awaits, which honestly, if you just look at it from a distance, you might mistake it for the cover of Hell Awaits, but it's fucking great. Great, great, great. Next album we're going to talk about, released by Radio Raheem. This is a reissue of Against from Southern California. Against shared members with like the early lineup of Suicidal Tendencies. Being a Radio Raheem press, this is just quality through and through. I know for a fact that Jason and Pat, I believe, have both talked about this record because there are Radio Raheem stans, at least Jason is, and this record fucking rules. It is US D-beat before like the Crasher Crusty scene really existed, or the American raw punk scene was really doing much, courtesy of labels like Beach Impediment and Content Crasher. This record is just violent, driving D-beat mayhem. It's awesome. Great insert, I'm not going to go through the whole thing here, but it's fucking an awesome record. I missed it when Radio Raheem dropped it, and some of the local distros that I usually go through for the crustier stuff ran out of stock of it, so it was really, really nice to find this at Daybreak. Here's a funny tidbit. Daybreak tends to get most of what Radio Raheem puts out. They have a working relationship. There is this piece that I have for the turntable. Some of you older heads probably know what this is. Maybe some of you younger heads too. This is a spacer for an old school 45, and it's a Daybreak record. Specific one was designed by the folks at Radio Raheem. It's cool shit. Now that aside done, another Japanese band. Another Japanese band that is super underrated. FOAD just reissued one of their early EPs last year, and it fucking rules. I'm talking about the band I. This was put out by Feral Ward. It's a compilation of several of their EPs, and as is normal with Feral Ward, it is an exceptionally sturdy and well put together package. Printed inner sleeve with a great live shot of the band. I is Burning Spirits at its best. Not an originator at all. They came out well after bands like Deathside or Warhead, but this stuff is just as vital, it's just as crucial, just as driving, just as pummeling. It's killer. It's one of those Japanese bands that doesn't really get their due, and I highly recommend digging into their discography. Another band that's like generally not super expensive when you find their stuff. So keeping with that Japanese theme, we've got another Finnish band. Let's say keeping with that Japanese theme, we've got another Finnish band. Whereas Forza Macabre take a lot of influence out of the Brazilian underground at the time. This is Selfish from Finland, and they clearly, if you recognize this cover art done by Sugi, one of my favorite artists in the underground out of Japan. I did a whole video showcasing Sugi art a long time back. I might do a repost because it's a good video. And I showed another Selfish record in that video. This is a compilation of basically splits and EPs, and it's killer. I wouldn't say it's mandatory, which I would say about other Selfish releases. It's great if you want just like one stop for all those kind of hard to find short records that they put out. This is just great shit. Really driving, energetic, crusty, Finnish hardcore, played in the Burning Spirits style. And you know how I am about fucking Burning Spirits. I'm a stan for sure. That shit just fucking gets me going. Selfish. This was released by Dead Alive out of Philadelphia. Yeah, it's just fucking killer. Not much more I can say about that. Here's another compilation. EU's Arse out of Italy. 81 to 85. This is released by Agitpunk. There's also an EU's Arse compilation done by FOAD. That version's probably the nicer of the version. I think they did some remastering for some of the tracks on that. Really lavish presentation. This album is a little rough here and there, but it does come with a really great booklet, full size. I'm not gonna flip through it because, like I said, it's full size, it's big. As far as this band goes, they are a seminal Italian hardcore band. This album, basically everything they released, and it kind of runs the gamut of like street punk sounds, like almost some of it devoted to like the UK 82 sound at the time, but they do get rawer and faster and dirtier on here. It's fucking great. Even the badly produced shit sounds good. And it's such an awesome portrait of a scene at the time. Like I said, 81 to 85, the Italian scene was just fucking to the brim with awesome bands, really blazing a trail for the Italian legacy in hardcore music. And the last album I want to talk about is another classic, Extreme Noise Terror, with their full BBC sessions from Peel sessions from 87, 88. This shit rules. ENT, Godfathers of Crust, D-beat driven, sloppy, dirty, filthy, fucking squatter music. Take the dirtiest shit you've heard by Doom and then down-tune that and make it dirtier, and you've got ENT. This stuff is probably my favorite Extreme Noise Terror material. Next to Phonophobia, would be my favorite of theirs, probably. It's just raw, it's dirty. Like I said, dirty, it's dirty. It's fucking dirty. And this is a Vinyl Japan press from 1990, which you don't come across very often. So again, seeing this in the wild fucking rules, that I was able to cop it and not have to go the Discogs route. There's no extras in here, so I'm not even going to bother pulling the record out. Just ruling shit. And that's all I have to show. However, I do have something else I want to talk to you about. As you know, I recently hit 2,000 subscribers. I teased a contest a while back, and I'm kind of just waiting to make sure that I was definitely over that buffer. Because, you know, you gain some subs, you lose some subs. And I wanted to make sure I was well over that 2,000 mark before I announced a contest. Also, off topic, you know who else just hit 2,000? Mr. Ground Zero Salem. Go subscribe to his channel if you haven't already. Also, subscribe to Jason Hook's channel. Get into it with Jason Hook. I'm going to drop out another couple channels. Analog Attack is kind of a new channel that I've been watching a lot of. He does a lot of interviews with dudes involved in record stores, as well as dudes involved in bands. He's talked to Barney Greenway, Dave Whitty most recently, from Discordance Axis, Municipal Waste, and too many other bands to name. It's a great channel. He's got great content. Who else do I want to name drop here? Uncommon Pallor. Please subscribe to him. He's got a great channel. He's got a great taste in music. And I just really like the vibe of his videos. I'm sure I'm missing a few others that I probably wanted to include here, but I'm feeling a little bit scattered. At any rate, I am going to do a contest, and there is a prize pack. However, based off of what's going on with the United States Postal Service right now, I'm not going to ship outside of the US or Canada. It seems to be where mail is most safely getting to and from here in the United States. I've just heard too many horror stories of stuff being sent over to Europe or anywhere else abroad. So, you know, if you are abroad and you do want to enter, I mean, you can. Maybe we can work something out to where you pay the postage and I ship the prize pack. Now, you might be asking what's on offer here. And I pulled some stuff that I think, for me, is kind of formative in where I got my start as a fan of music and subversive music most specifically. So, we've got a handful of 45s, the first of which, Detestation. They were a Portland-based crust band in the 90s. A lot of the people in Detestation were in other projects at the time, like Defiance or Resist or Mass Control, Atrocious Madness. Deprived was another band that a lot of those guys were involved in. A very incestuous scene. This 45 is fucking killer. Just killer crust rules. Second thing is this Raise Kane bootleg EP, not LP, released by Sound Pollution. Fucking killer Japanese thrashing, burning spirits is probably the best way to describe this record. It's short and sweet. It's almost metal. It's uplifting. Is that possible? It's fucking great. The next thing that'll be included is, got shit falling all over the place over here. What's the guy to do? The Havoc Records issue of Chaos and their Nuke EP. Mandatory EP, Chaos, legendary band. And this is a great reissue. Flotsam and Jetsam. I shouldn't have to say much about this tape. Doomsday for the Deceiver, one of the best speed metal, thrash metal, power metal albums ever. Just killer. And then, of course, one of the best movies of all time, Repo Man, Anchor Bay edition on VHS. This movie's killer. This is a great version of this on VHS. It's a mandatory movie, in my opinion. One of the best movies Alex Cox ever released or ever directed. And I'm a big fan of Alex Cox's filmography. Probably one of the best Emilio Estevez roles. Movie rules. That's what's up for grabs. Now, what do you have to do to win? Well, you got to make a video response. And what do I want to see in that video response? I just want to see some shit that means a lot to you. Say 4 records. And one of those records has to have a cop on the cover. Either doing something stupid or having something terrible happen to them. Or just looking ridiculous. That's it. What do they mean to you? I want stories, and like I said, video response. In order to be eligible, you have to subscribe to my channel, obviously. I have to be able to go in and look at your subscriptions and see that you're subscribed. Put the link to your video in the comments below. Now, I realize not everybody watching this has a YouTube channel, which is a shame. So I encourage you to make a video response as well. You can just upload, if you have a YouTube account, you can make a YouTube video. Just upload a private video and send me the link so that I can watch it. Or write something in depth down below in the comments to be considered. Again, got to be a sub, and I have to be able to go in and actually see that you're subscribed to the channel. And that's it. That's all you got to do. We'll say that the contest will run until the second week of January. Sounds good. Say January 10th. Yeah. That's it. That's all I've got, YouTube. Thank you so much for subbing and for getting involved in the channel and conversing with me, keeping the dialogue going that starts with a lot of these videos, and just talking about music and subbing and supporting. It's awesome. It's awesome. It's one of the reasons I keep coming back to doing the YouTube thing. Now, that said, I'm out of here. Take care of yourselves. Stay healthy. And don't be stupid. How about that? Don't be shitty. It's that time of year where people are getting real shitty, so don't be shitty. Take care of yourselves, YouTube.